Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, beautiful soul family, and welcome to Weekly Wisdom and Insights, your home for spiritually guided transformation and empowerment. I am your host, Dearjames, and together with the unseen, Spirit, Source, and Symphony, we look at the current energies, the intuitive wisdom and insights, and we go as guided. And we are jumping into the final episode of 2025, a 9-year, and it really ends where it began, and that's with the fact that at the beginning of the year, the unseen said to us, 2025, a cosmic bang felt round the world. And so we'll get into that, but it's how we're going to take a step back for a second. Welcome, Kiki. Because our main theme is mixed metaphors. Let me just bring this up. Mixed metaphors coming in with a bang, a cosmic bang. Major endings and beginnings. And so as we work with these energies, and we're working with the December solstice that occurred on the 21st of December, but we're also working with what preceded that. And what preceded that is the super full moon in Gemini. Neptune went direct. The Sagittarius new moon conjunct the galactic center. And then the winter solstice, the December solstice. It's winter in the northern hemisphere, summer in the southern hemisphere. So we have these big energies, these four big energies, and really there's as above, so below. It's this girl is on fire. That's what it feels like. It's that song playing in my head. Last week it was number 3 from the unseen, and they said a higher view, a vista of things. Fly like an eagle. And it was about eagle medicine. And this, you're no longer grounded at the gate. And then this kind of raised voice, all aboard. And this mixed metaphors and expansion of understanding. So the unseen is building upon that this is the main theme for this week, this mixed metaphors. And I just want to go to that really quickly before I bring in the chart again. We'll just do a quick reverse here, so that mixed metaphors in a spiritual context, the use of mixed metaphors can deepen understanding of complex, abstract truths by offering multiple complementary perspectives that prevent limiting the subject, such as the nature of God or the divine, or the path of spiritual growth, to a single narrow image. Welcome, Alicia. Welcome, Sue. So this is about the fact that we're in the process of being expanded, of our consciousness being expanded, that divine DNA that we've talked about. Scientists call it junk DNA and dark DNA, but it's ultimately divine DNA, and how it awakens when that's activated. It awakens us in a way, and how when we look at this chart, so mixed metaphors, that they're going to expand the way we look at things and how we interact with them. And they can be two things that seem, incompatible with one another, a la, you're not grounded at the gate and yet all aboard. One's talking about, train travel in a way, and the other is about a ship. And we have that in this week's episode with mixed metaphors. And let me just bring up the chart for the winter solstice. And you can see here immediately what this was saying to me was this whole like icing on the cake. There's an aspect about the fact that, we're reaching a pinnacle moment for humanity, for the world, for the whole of the whole. And so there's this kind of like icing on the cake, the cherry on top. Let me just bounce between these two and then Oh Christmas Tree, the song Oh Christmas Tree, because the image in the center of the chart, welcome calling, the energy of it is like a Christmas tree. The energy is like this. It's the icing on the cake and the cherry on top. And just to give you some quick references to that, so icing on the cake and cherry on top are similar idioms meaning an extra pleasing addition that makes something already good even better or perfect, like a bonus that tops off a great experience. While often interchangeable, cherry on top usually refers to a small final flourish, while icing on the cake can be a large enhancement. Both signify a wonderful completing detail. So we're putting the icing on the cake, the cherry on top, and this Oh Christmas Tree. Oh Christmas Tree goes back, it's also known as O Tannenbaum. It originates in the 16th century. It's a German folk song that was adapted by a school teacher in 1824 using an old tune to celebrate the fir tree's steadfast greenness as a symbol of loyalty and endurance. Long before its association with the Christian holiday, it became widespread, though German immigrants later popularized the decorated tree tradition in America. The song contrasts the tree's constant green in winter with human fickleness, later adding verses about Christmas joy. So this Oh Christmas Tree is about the tree's loyalty, its appearance, and its, it represents hope and cheer and so forth. So we have this, just bringing it back up again. Here's the chart for the solstice, the astrological chart for the solstice. And we have this mixed metaphor of icing on the cake, cherry on top, and Oh Christmas Tree. And so what the unseen is saying to us, and all of this is happening, you'll see Saturn and Neptune. Everything keeps pointing to where Saturn and Neptune are. In this chart, it's in the 11th house. And the 11th house represents and it governs friendships, groups, communities, hopes, wishes, and long-term goals, ruling our connection to the collective and future aspirations, often linked to Aquarius, age of Aquarius, matriarchal, divine feminine, Aquarius, and Uranus. It's about social networks, humanitarian efforts, technology, and how we contribute to the world beyond ourselves, representing gains and ideals. This house shows how we find belonging, achieve dreams through collaboration, and engage with societal ideals, contrasting with the 5th house's focus on personal pleasure. So we see that all of this is speaking to an expansion, mixed metaphors, an expansion of our understanding of the unseen, the divine, our divinity, and this making something good even better, and remembering the eternal loyalty and joy and presence of the fir tree, the pine tree, this metaphor, these mixed metaphors that are speaking to us, all in the 11th house. They're all speaking to us. All of this is heading, we've been talking about this throughout this 4-year journey, about how where we've been and where we're going, it's an inversion of where we've been. Where we're going is an inversion. It is the soul coming to the fore. It is the divine feminine within us coming to the fore. It is leading with our soul source connection. It's an expansion of that. And how revelatory, literally, whole different world, whole different way of being. And it's number 3 from the unseen. They said a hard reset. So this is a hard reset. This ending of the Piscean and the entry of the Aquarian. The end, the culmination, the completion of the divine masculine patriarchal, and the rise and the return of the divine feminine matriarchal. And they said a hard reset, a whole new way of being. Individualism versus collectivism. Collectivism is about the group and unity and humanity. It is about how what we do serves the whole, and in reciprocity and return, we as the individual receive back. That's the new operating system. That is the new. And the example the unseen has given me many times, and we've shared this, operating systems, computer systems. The difference between Microsoft and Macintosh, Apple. They're 2 drastically different operating systems. One of those systems can read the other. The other cannot read the latter. The other one can't. So in other words, original intelligence can read and understand artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence cannot understand or read original intelligence. By its very nature, it's artificial. And thereby, the vastness of the originality, of the expansiveness of original intelligence supersedes all. Well, it's the same thing. It's a hard reset. It's a whole new way of being. It's a whole new operating system. And so the sooner we all awaken to that understanding, all aboard, get on board. We're no longer grounded at the gate. It's the caterpillar to the butterfly. We're no longer grounded. There's an expansiousness of consciousness coming. Mixed metaphors coming in with a bang, a cosmic bang. This expansion, major endings and beginnings. And it's number 1 from the unseen. It's about rebirth and renewal, an expanded state of consciousness, of being. And they said, wait for it, because it is coming from the unseen. So it's not something that we go about in our daily lives and plan other than to be in alignment with it, to be in awareness of it, to do all the things that we possibly can do individually and collectively to align with that, so that, they're showing me it's the difference. They have these a lot in certainly in Europe, but the flat in airports and everything, it's like the conveyor belts that are flat, and so you can step on and it moves you faster than if you were simply walking. And if you, of course, walk on the moving flat conveyor belt, you're moving twice as fast. That's what they're showing us. So we can choose to walk or not walk, walk not on the conveyor belt, or we can step onto the conveyor belt. We're going to go faster. We can walk as we've stepped onto the conveyor belt. We're going to go twice as fast. It's all up to us. It's individual and collective. And that's the understanding of how we align with these major, major, major endings and beginnings, these as above, so below energies from the unseen, and how they align with the 11th house. So let's jump back into, and we're also arresting decay. It's hexagram 18. We've had this a lot. And so we're looking here, this is from divination.com. Repairing the damage. When something is rotting, it is time to repair the damage. In the world of human affairs, self-indulgence and corruption grow like weeds in an untended garden. They must be faced squarely and rooted out through bold action. This brings us to our first quote. Eliminating corruption and the sloppiness that leads to it is an ennobling human enterprise. It's a worthy cause to root out and take bold action when we're facing corruption and goo and all of this decay. and that it's an ennobling human enterprise as it clears the way for fresh, new beginnings. Such repair efforts ultimately lead to supreme success. So when we're willing to individually and collectively root out evil, indulgence, self-indulgence, corruption, goo, it ultimately leads to supreme success, a higher, more pure octave of ourselves and the world we live in. This is a time to be lean and efficient. The weeds must be rooted out before the whole garden is lost. Fighting decay, indifference, and corruption is not a simple matter. The steps must be evaluated carefully, and planning should precede action. Resist the temptation to strike out prematurely. See, this is where we gather. It's discernment. It's proactive, not reactive. So that when we do strike, we strike with the iron hot and with great clarity. Gather strength around you and marshal your inner resources. This is our second quote. Arresting decay requires a strong effort. And there's a beautiful image here of this gorgeous tree that's literally sprouted up through the hardness of the rock and the terrain and everything, and yet it's completely adorned in lights. It's lit up. And so it's this arresting decay requires a strong effort. Be the image of this tree, the fortitude, and yet just the ease of it. And then it's completely lit up. It's lit up from the inside out, and it's casting this beautiful white shadow, this luminosity. When you do act, pay close attention to the process. Make your strike as precise and clear as the path of the surgeon's knife. So that we're being asked, again, empty our vessels, hone and polish our stones, remove the decay. And Colleen is just saying how spot on right now. Yes, because we're watching these major endings and beginnings. All of the, simultaneously, the massive collapse of things and the massive rise, the purity, the light, and this, tuning, weeding our gardens, our collective gardens, and it begins with our individual gardens. And that we're willing, because it's a rebirth and a renewal. It's an expanded state of consciousness and being that is arriving. And with mixed metaphors in the 11th house and this hard reset. So, because it brings about, it's number 5 from the unseen, it brings about a metamorphosis. I mean, this is a complete change in form. That's what it's going to do. It's an inversion. It's a complete 180 of where we've been. And so it's a metamorphosis. And then I heard the phrase, which I've never heard before, divine abstraction. And then I heard the lyrics, it's the title of the song, but the lyrics to, it's Celine Dion's, It's All Coming Back to Me Now. Well, divine abstraction. And divine abstraction refers to the concept of God or the divine or the sacred as beyond human comprehension, existing in pure, unmanifested being, not form. Often explored through abstract art as a way to express the ineffable, or in spiritual texts like A Course of Miracles, as God's limitless, joyful sharing of creation, a perfect abstract communication. It contrasts with concrete, limited definitions of God, the divine, focusing instead on universal principles, pure essence, or a spiritual source beyond sensory experience. So we've taken, over the course of millennia, we have taken the unseen and, compartmentalized it and boiled it down and packaged it or forced it into these understandings and beliefs. Mixed metaphors and this hard reset and this expanded consciousness says the unseen is going to blow the roof off the house, off the lid. It's going to burn a decay, repair what's spoiled. It's going to burn away the edifice of all of that so that we get the purity of what's the essence of our divinity. Because we are the unseen. We just happen to be incarnate in physical form. But we've allowed millennia, 2,000 plus years, of dogma and belief and trying to explain the unexplainable. And so we've mashed it into these containers that restrict us, limit us, as opposed to expanding us, liberating us, elevating us. And so here it is. It's wait for it, because here it comes. In spirituality and philosophy, divine abstraction, the divine is seen as infinite, without specific attributes, forms, or contrasts. Light alone, existing as pure being, not limited by how, what, or to whom in a finite sense. In A Course of Miracles, divine abstraction is God's joyful, perfect communication, creation, that shares everything, establishing minds as channels for this limitless connection, which is inherently abstract and universal. It's our soul source connection. Some philosophers suggest abstract objects like numbers or concepts exist as thoughts in an infinite divine mind. Pardon me. But this faces challenges regarding the scope of God's thoughts and references, the divine. We've talked about this a lot. There are so many ways that the unseen will communicate with us. Numbers is certainly one of them. The entire universe is based on numbers. Numbers do not lie. They cannot lie. And so you see the purity and the power in numbers alone, let alone so many other ways, synchronicities and, images in the clouds or, Mother Nature and so forth. There's so many different ways for this divine abstraction that, again, is not confined by an understanding or an accepted understanding. It presents itself, it speaks to us, it's a knowing, it resonates. And then we often say, oh, well, whether somebody thinks I'm mad or cuckoo or not, it doesn't matter. I know what I saw, I know what I felt, I know what I understood or received. That's not limited by the explainable. In art, abstract art, with its focus on lines, colors, and shapes rather than recognizable objects, attempts to convey spiritual or divine truths that words cannot capture, bridging art and religion. Artists often describe waiting for inspiration from a universal source, allowing ideas to flow from infinity into their work, a practice deeply connected to the concept of divine abstraction. This is the same thing like the artist, whether it's a canvas or a block of marble. In our daily lives, when we listen, when we connect with our soul source connection, and we await, we ask, we pray, we meditate, and we await that divine abstraction, that divine inspiration that guides us, that says, do this, go this way, don't do that. It's the same aspect. And again, it supersedes anything that's, air quotes, proven or been proven. What we all know is it exists. And there are those in one camp that seek to prove that out more, and there are those that seek to simply diminish it or ridicule it or excuse it away. And yet it exists. So key themes are limitless and universal, and this concept of inner experience. It's knowledge through inner experience, contemplation, this understanding what exceeds all of this. And the reason this divine abstraction and this metamorphosis, it's all coming back to me now. There's going to be that moment where we're like, oh yeah, the epiphany moments of, oh yeah, I've known this existed. I've known it's always been there. But somehow somebody fine-tuned the channel, or someone, the unseen, as above, so below. They've turned up the volume. They fine-tuned the channel. Somehow I awaken at some point, and my world is expanded. My understanding supersedes the limitations of where I've been. So that is this beautiful metamorphosis, and it's number 5 from the unseen, which denotes change. Metamorphosis, divine abstraction. It's all coming back to me now. How we connect, how that expands us, and how that, so whether we're creating a new project at work or, it's not limited to an artist and the canvas or the sculpture. This is everything we do in our lives. So from our relationships to our work to new work, creations or projects, whatever it may be, that divine abstraction, that expansion, that soul source connection, listening and leading with your soul, manifests. It's been doing it all along. It's just been in the back seat. Now it's at the forefront. Now there's going to be this awakening, because number 2 from the unseen is, it's the Eurythmics, Annie Lennox. It was the lyrics, "Here comes the rain again." Well, "Here comes the rain again." Beautiful song. And it's about the fact that I want to go to the spiritual meaning of rain. Rain symbolizes cleansing, renewal, and life, washing away the old for new growth, while also representing divine blessings, mercy, and the outpouring of spirit or knowledge, though it can also signify sorrow, reflection, or hardship, mirroring life's dualities. It's a powerful metaphor for nourishment, spiritual awakening, and the promise of better times after storms, appearing in diverse cultures as a life giver and purifier. So this, here, number 2, "Here comes the rain again." It's about washing away sins, negativity, and emotional burdens, refreshing the spirit and land, so Mother Earth, the waters. It's about renewal and rebirth, a fresh start, leaving the past behind for new beginnings, like nature reviving after rain. It's about blessings in abundance, a sign of divine provision, prosperity, and God's favor, especially when prayed for. Spiritual nourishment, a metaphor for spiritual truth, wisdom, or the Holy Spirit. We've talked about Pentecost, baptism by fire, the Holy Spirit, vital for inner growth, similar to how water sustains crops. And remember, at Pentecost, this is almost 2,000-ish years ago, give or take, they were illumined, baptism by fire. They all had flames over their heads. And after that, they began speaking in tongues, or, like garbled. And after that, those in attendance, their consciousness was expanded. Their capabilities were expanded. They were awakened and elevated. So here comes the rain again. It can be this, it is this purification, both water, baptism by water, baptism by fire. In Christianity, and it's here we are, sorry. Essential for physical and spiritual life. So rain is essential for physical and spiritual life, bringing forth harvest and sustaining ecosystems. And ultimately, rain's meaning is often personal, reflecting whether it brings gloom or blessing, but it universally connects the physical and spiritual worlds through themes of life, change, and divine presence. That's what we're talking about here. Life, change, divine presence. And the unseen is saying to us, mixed metaphors. I'm just going to bring up the main image again. Mixed metaphors coming in with a bang, a cosmic bang, major ends and beginnings, and all of this green and gold light. And a lot of times people will indicate or speak about the heart chakra is typically reflective of green, the color green. There are others that see their heart chakra as gold. So we're speaking about the heart chakra. We're speaking about our connection to the divine. This green and gold light that is ever present and yet spilling forth, being magnified and amplified as we're moving forward. Because remember, these energies, it's not just the solstice energies. That is where the light is reborn on December 21st. It is the longest night in the northern hemisphere and the longest day in the southern hemisphere. Then the light, the sun, the light stays for 3 days, 22, 23, 24. On December 25th, the light, the sun, is reborn, or is born again, born anew. and the sun begins its northward travel to its highest point north. So it is when the light is reborn. And so we can see in all of this, here comes the rain again. It is about life, change, divine presence, and how all of these, from Neptune direct, the Sagittarius new moon that was conjunct the galactic center, that last full supermoon in Gemini, all of this is culminating towards this massive renewal. So now let's jump to, where do we want to go from here? Let me go to 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. So the spirit we've been given from the divine, the unseen, is of power, love, and self-discipline. When we harness those three aspects of ourselves, it's that Mazda rotary engine, when we keep those in balance, which is about tending to our garden, weeding our garden individually, and then of course the result of that is collectively when we come together, well then we don't have a spirit of fear and timidity or lack. We have one of greatness, of power, of love, of self-discipline, of hope, of the purity of creation. Well, that's again it's a game changer. Because just imagine that within yourself, then ripple it out to your familial, within your home, outward to your community, to where you work, to then your county or where, and then out to your state and then to your country, your government. When those things ripple out in that way, the purity of them, again, is a complete inversion of where we've been in. Where we are right now is a corruption of that purity. Now we're returning to the purity of it, but on steroids, on a whole other operating system, a whole other level of consciousness, of being. And for all those, because it just popped in, for all of those that say, this is airy-fairy, pie in the sky, it can't happen, that's an individual choice. Because everything in life is a choice. Do I choose to believe the opportunity before me? Do I choose to align with the current energies that are before me, with the change of them? Because if not, my garden will get overgrown by weeds and corruption and decay and goo, and it's stagnation. Well, then you end up getting stuck, or you get the negative cosmic 2x4 from the universe. Because everything in the universe is about growth, expansion, evolution, transcendence, ascendance. And so we're either, which train are you on? The one that ends, that's going nowhere, or the one that is literally taking off, going everywhere? It's a choice. So now let's jump to, I want to begin with Astrology by Lauren. And she is speaking about the new moon in Sagittarius that just occurred, and then the Capricorn winter solstice. She begins with a quote from Og Mandlino, and this is our third quote. I will love the light, for it shows me the way. Yet I will endure the darkness, for it shows me the stars. So again, there's a purity, and the purity of intention and perception and how we look at things in life. Do we see the glass half full or half empty? Do we recognize, I will love the light, for it shows me the way. Yet I will endure the darkness, for it shows me the stars. That beautiful canopy of the divine that's ever present, the universal, transcends languages. Everyone understands it. And look how it's guided humanity for time immemorial. We have literally, in terms of traversing oceans and everything, it is what guided us. It guided the three wise men. And so there's this beauty in the fact that in our endurance of the darkness, it shows us the stars. So Astrology by Lauren. On December 19th, we had the new moon in Sagittarius at 28 degrees, 25 arc minutes of Sagittarius. The new moon in Sagittarius usually pushes us to grow and expand our horizons. Our optimism and hope grow exponentially at this time of year. However, due to certain coinciding transits, this moon is entwined with the feeling that we cannot step into the potential that is right there in front of us without releasing, unburdening, and letting go of certain elements of the past. This is about emptying the vessel, weeding our gardens, being willing to release the old to receive and accept the new. However, what it also reminds us of is that no matter what obstacles, challenges, and fears we are working through at this time, we have something much stronger to see us through, and that is the element of hope. The new moon in Sagittarius makes a 90-degree square angle, that's a frictional aspect in astrology, with both Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, which are gradually edging closer for their exact conjunction in February of 2026. They're going to come together once again at 0 degrees Aries. That's the beginning point of the astrological year. This is a complicated transit which fills our hearts with trepidation, and the feeling in some cases like the rug is being pulled out from under us. Wraiths and ghosts linger in these final degrees of Pisces, where we are drawn into the past and asked to do the important work of releasing, purifying, and distilling. This is about letting go of people, places, things, masks, identities, labels, all of these things that have kept us confined, or we've utilized them as a measure of means, of value, of identity. And yet, in this instant, they've come to the end. They've outworn their usefulness. And I mean that in a very pure, respectful way, that we can recognize. I had this in my own personal experience with particular people recently passing in a previous aspect of my identity, my life experience. And this understanding that, oh, that's really over because those individuals are no longer incarnate, present. And thereby there's a melancholy, there is a reverence for the beauty of what it was and the loss of it. And then the awareness of, and yet this is what's before me. This is, quote unquote, my next act. And that's what this is speaking to, these wraiths and ghosts that linger in these final degrees of Pisces. Because remember, we're completing, just with Neptune, it's a 165-year cycle. With Saturn, it's a 29-year cycle. 2025 is a 9-year cycle. So you see all of these major endings, but with them is the beginnings, the beauty of the beginnings. And so we're being asked to do the important work of releasing, purifying, and distilling. Astrology by Lauren. And it is all that we can do to process it all, as the past washes over us like a tidal wave of mixed emotions. And yet we stand here with hope in our hearts and even anticipation for what could still be. The new moon square Saturn and Neptune is asking us, what are the dreams worth having? The dreams that you are willing to make a sacrifice for. The dreams that will be worth fighting for, while also taking into consideration which dreams are only fantasies and needing to be put on a shelf somewhere. This is about the Seven of Cups in the Tarot and discernment and recognizing what are the dreams worth pursuing, worth fighting for, worth continuing, and what are the dreams that say, maybe that was a past iteration of myself. Let me set it aside for now. It may come back, but in this instant, it's for us to have that discernment of what is. So, are you just chasing ephemeral fireflies that have no basis in reality? Or do these dreams actually have traction and therefore well worth investing in? On December 21st, Jupiter, the ruling planet of Sagittarius, makes an exact square to Chiron. Squares are frictional aspects. Our wounded healer. Old wounds are being raked up in the process. However, even as Chiron exposes our wounds, he also brings us the remedies that can heal these old wounds. It's like it's a choice. When we allow ourselves to be healed, we're healed. When we allow ourselves to see truth, we see truth. And then we can deal with it, make adjustments, or own a tone release, whatever it might be, and move through it. The ultimate aim is for greater healing and wholeness. But to do this well, we need to be willing to step out of our comfort zones, not so much so that it is overwhelming, but enough to grow beyond our present limitations. The Unseen has always said, we know what we know until we know. The beauty of that statement is, what we know what we know. That gives us a foundation, a clarity, a proper solidification of things. We know what we know until we know. Until we know means that we are open to receive things that will reconstruct that foundation, that clarity, that will expand it. Because again, if we're not open, we know what we know until we know. If we're not open to the until we know aspect, then we get stuck, stagnant. We stay boxed in, as opposed to being expanded, liberated, evolved. Well, that's like an amazing journey. It's a wonderful, it's like what's the word? Like a treasure chest in that journey where you're like, ooh, what might I encounter next? I know what I know until I know. Astrology by Lauren, she's talking about with the Jupiter Chiron square. There are opportunities here to heal old wounds that have to do with the fear of rejection, ostracism, judgments from others, or ourselves, or of ourselves. It's amazing the way that we can cripple ourselves with our own narratives. However, by being placed in a position that is a little uncomfortable and unfamiliar to you, you are forced to grow beyond your previous fears. Freedom comes when we are willing to let go of what is comfortable and are willing to reach for the farther shore. To find your own spiritual purpose, you may need to step away from what was previously familiar and what was previously felt comfortable to grow beyond your previous self-imposed limits. It's always an inside job. They will always be self-imposed limits. And thereby, ergo, we're back to it's always a choice. It's a choice to release. It's a choice to receive expansion and new consciousness and understanding. It's a choice to align with it. It's a choice to let go. It's a choice to forgive. It's a choice to rewrite our scripts. It's a choice. And here comes a hard reset. Before I finish up with Astrology by Lauren, I want to go to number 4, and 4 is foundational, and that's why this is all so important. What they said, and it's also our key word. So we have 2 aspects. Our key word is enlightenment. You see the cosmos in the background, this radiant, brilliant light, and then you see this stone, this raw stone, with all this gold within, just illuminating gold. That's us. We are from the cosmos. We are a chunk, a spark of the divine. And it's about the gold within, which is why the heart chakra can be either green or gold. This beauty of abundance and value. It's the highest prized mineral, the diamond and gold. And so we have the word enlightenment, but then we also have, let me just give that to you really quickly. We also have then the age of enlightenment. So enlightenment, the act or means of enlightening, the state of understanding something, education or awareness that brings change. In Hinduism and Buddhism, the highest spiritual state that can be achieved. So enlightenment is the highest spiritual state that can be achieved. A state of perfect knowledge or wisdom combined with infinite compassion. So enlightenment, a state of perfect knowledge or wisdom, not alone. This perfect state of knowledge or wisdom combined with infinite compassion, this compassion of understanding, because then we are looking at we, the whole, all. How will my choice or decision, my wisdom or my knowledge, impact or affect my fellow humans, Mother Earth, the greater whole, the unseen? Because as above, so below. Well, as below, so above. We're in reciprocity with one another. So we have this enlightenment as our key word, and then the age of enlightenment. It was a period. So we're talking about it's happened before. Here comes the rain again. The age of enlightenment in the history was a period in the history of Europe and Western civilization, during which the Enlightenment, an intellectual and cultural movement, flourished, emerging in the late 17th century in Western Europe and reaching its peak in the 18th century, as its ideas spread more widely across Europe and into the European colonies in the Americas and Oceania. The movement was characterized by the widespread circulation of ideas through new institutions, scientific, academies, literary salons, coffee houses, Masonic lodges, and an expanding print culture of books, journals, and pamphlets. The ideas of the Enlightenment undermined the authority of the monarchy and religious officials and paved the way for the political revolutions of the 18th and 19th centuries. So this age of enlightenment pushed back on the power structures. So the monarchy, religious officials, and it paved the way for these political revolutions, for this the conscious awareness revolutions. It woke people up. And this happened. Remember, Pluto in Aquarius hasn't happened since the French, American, and Industrial Revolutions. 18th, 19th centuries. The Enlightenment was marked by an increasing awareness of the relationship between the mind and the everyday media of the world, and by an emphasis on the scientific method and reductionism, along with increased questioning of religious dogma, an attitude captured by Kant's essay answering the question, "What is enlightenment?" where the phrase "saper aude, dare to know," came to be found, or can be found. The central doctrines of the Enlightenment were individual liberty, representative government, the rule of law, and religious freedom, in contrast to an absolute monarchy or single-party state and the religious persecution of faiths other than those formally established and often controlled outright by the state. So the age of enlightenment, and our key word enlightenment, this gold within. And here we come again. Remember, astrology is cyclical, not identical. So here's all of these things that, here comes the age of enlightenment again. Here comes the rain again. Mixed metaphors. We're coming in with a bang, a cosmic bang. And how that is setting the stage or resetting the stage for this reinvention of ourselves, an expansion of ourselves, an elevation of ourselves. And before I finish up Astrology by Lauren, the spiritual meaning of the Big Bang, cosmic bang is also Big Bang. So the spiritual meaning of the Big Bang often centers on it being a moment of divine creation, the universe's birth from a singularity, aligning with religious ideas of a creator. Interpretations vary. Some see it as God, the divine, initiating creation, pointing to an intentional designer. Others view it as the separation of God, of the divine, pure love, light, into soul chunks, us, to experience itself, creating space, darkness. While some traditions like Hinduism, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva map cosmic cycles onto this beginning. Ultimately, it's seen as a grand purposeful start, whether as God's direct act or a process he set in motion, sparking consciousness and existence. So, and a cosmic bang, it's the rapid expansion of matter. We are matter, physical. The rapid expansion of matter from a state of from extremely high density and temperatures that, according to current cosmological theories, mark the origin of the universe. So again, there's this aspect of this cosmic bang, this rapid expansion of matter, a hard reset, a whole new way of being. It's a whole new operating system. And this purity and the clarity and the purification, here comes the rain again, that is associated with it. And how, again, they're saying to us, the unseen, which the unseen does this a lot, they will tell us something, and then it's, of course, wait for it, because we're being given foreknowledge. We're being given the understanding of what's to be, what's to come. And thereby we're awakened. And what we do in this lifetime, in each moment, is to align with that awareness, so that when it occurs, we're on that moving conveyor belt already walking. We're going twice as fast as anybody that might just be walking or hasn't even moved yet. So we're being given this foreknowledge of what is, what's to be, what's to come. So back with Astrology by Lauren, and she concludes with the Capricorn winter solstice. And she has a quote by Robert Crosby. It is the season of the birth of the sun, the coming back and bringing into fructification those seeds and plants needing sun energy for their growth and expression. However, it is more than that, because behind the sun, as behind every single body, there is spirit, there is life, and there is intelligence. So behind the sun is the Son, the Father, the divine, which radiates within us. We are connected to it. It is eternal. It is what we come from and we return to. So Astrology by Lauren. The winter Capricorn solstice is one of the 4 sacred cardinal corners of the solar year, when the sun, Sol, appears to stand still, stis. The time of year with the least amount of light in the northern hemisphere. The northern winter solstice marks the turning, when the sun will gradually make its way back north again, bringing with it the return of the light. We celebrate this season of light with festivals, feasts, and gatherings, beckoning the light to return once again. In the darkness before the dawn, we are confronted with our own soul's journey, searching for that ephemeral light that will ultimately lead us towards the inner light of understanding. Whether we seek that light through ritual, through religion, community, prayer, lights, candles, meditation, or embracing the wonders of nature, it brings us hope for renewal, for rebirth, for wisdom and light. With this shift comes a renewed surge of purpose and growth. May we therefore find our own sacred light this season, so that we can carry it with us into the year that is to come. This is about, illuminating, taking the bushel off the light, the bushel basket off the light, so our inner light shines. And yet, the candle in the wind, it's about protecting that light as well. And so again, protecting can be nourishing. We protect that light by nourishing our minds, our bodies, our souls. We can do that in the way that we empty our vessel and how we are proactive. There's so many ways by which we can both protect that light and magnify and amplify it. They go hand in hand. And one is, it's like one scratching the back of the other. One is uplifting the other. And so in this age of enlightenment and this metamorphosis, this divine abstraction, it's all coming back to us now. It's all coming back to me now. It's a message it's a reminder that we're going to remember. And in our expanded consciousness, in this new operating system, it won't be foreign, I'm using air quotes, foreign to us, because it is us. It's already known to us. It's just taking it from the back seat or the side seat and placing it in the driver's seat. That's all. So no fear, no worry, no, I'm not good enough, or I don't know how, or none of that. Just listen. receive, go as guided. You will, and be proactive, be in alignment with making those choices so that it comes about. Let us go now to ladykazemi.com. And she is speaking about reality undefined, the Saturn Neptune years, 2023 to 2028, because this is the time frame where Saturn and Neptune are in close proximity. They will be at that 0 degree mark in early 2026, at that 0 degrees of Aries. So ladykazemi.com. This particular Saturn-Neptune era is especially striking, not only because Saturn and Neptune will be cohabitating for so long. Normally they'd spend just 2 to 3 years engaging each other, but here's five years. But because this occurs across the last and the first sign of the zodiac, so 29 degrees Pisces, 0 degrees Aries, the exact conjunction literally lands at 0 degrees of Aries. It's Omega spilling into Alpha, the tail eating the snake. It's the Ouroboros. It's where the snake and the tail, the tail of the snake is in the mouth of the snake. It's the Ouroboros. The Saturn in Pisces era really will feel like the end of something, and she suspects will bear the brunt of the despair, disillusion, and disillusionment part of the equation. Whereas Saturn in Aries might be where we pick up the pieces and move into the trial and error phase of reality testing our dreams and ideals in a new paradigm where the old rules do not apply. It's a completely different operating system. The old rules do not apply. We can see on a world stage where the patriarchal power structure is cleaving and clinging to power, trying to rewind the clock, go back in time, keep time from advancing. It's futile. It's collapsing under the goo, the decay of its own construction. It's bringing about its own destruction. And yet, new life, the renewal of the sun. Here comes the rain again. Rebirth and renewal, expanded state, an expanded state of consciousness and being. These mixed metaphors that are going to blow the walls, the roof off of our understanding, so that we can see things in a more multifaceted manner. Instead of this kind of like one size fits all, it must be this this kind of confined, restrictive way or manner, because that's not who we are. The multifacetedness of our nature, of our beingness, is so vast. And when we harness that and we respect it and we celebrate and we collaborate, it's a game changer. There's always enough. There's never not enough. That's a lie. It's an illusion that there's not enough. But that's what the goo of the previous millennia have created. Lack. Well, we're facing the lack. We're addressing it. In order to do that, we must do it ourselves, individually, so that collectively we rise. So ladykazemi.com. Saturn's stint through Pisces is, in many ways, the finale to the Neptune and Pisces era that started in 2011. It's seeing that the Wizard of Oz is the man behind the curtain. It's the consequences of this past decade's delusions coming home to roost. And it's the hard aftermath of a slowly dissolving consensus reality. Remember in the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy and, her companions, they're all wanting something, they're looking for something, and they're looking externally for it. Only for Toto to go over and yank the curtain back and realize that it's this little man, pulling levers that's making, loud noises and shooting fire and smoke out and everything. What they come to realize is what they were wanting, what they were longing for, resided within them all along. Glinda says to her, "Click your heels 3 times. You've always had what you needed to, quote, go home." You didn't need the Wizard of Oz, this illusion. It was within you. So LadyKazemi.com. The internet of the personal algorithm has contributed to a more siloed relationship with reality and a crisis of truth, of knowing what to trust. The 2010s were a prolific decade for fake news, and this stands to only get worse with the advancement of AI and deep fakes. So this is where the discernment, listening to your soul source connection, going as guided, is paramount. It's key. It's your foundation. It's where we look and say, okay, I just saw that come into my algorithm. And of course, we all know in social media, you click on something once, you get 100 or 1,000 more of them when you maybe only wanted it one time. So it's incumbent upon us to say, no, there's those 3 little dots. Go back in and say, no, not interested. No, this is not what I want. And it forces the algorithm. It's going to keep giving it to you for a little bit, but it's going to finally say, oh, okay, that dog doesn't hunt. This person doesn't want that anymore. But see, it's a choice, and it's proactive. It's taking action, and it's about also discernment, where we look, what is the truth? This is a truth, but is that truth matched up? Is it replicated many times, or is it only coming from one avenue of sources? Pardon me. So we have to be, accountable to ourselves, which means that we're accountable to the whole. LadyKazemi.com. There are multiple universes of facts, she's using air quotes, facts, that exist side by side, but remain largely closed to each other. In this era of the information bubble, will Saturn in Aries be a hard reset? There's the hard reset. Pardon me, I have a tickle in the back of my throat. Or a shared universe collapsing into an infinity of solo galaxies. This is a hard reset. This is not a shared universe collapsing into an infinity of solo galaxies. This is going to be a hard reset. And she concludes, reality waits to be determined. Then again, maybe a little doubt is a good thing. Maybe a little dose of skepticism is what will save us in the end. Will Saturn and Neptune signaling the merging of the known and the unknown at the first degree of the zodiac? It's almost as though what we knew before will no longer apply in the face of previous mysteries solidifying and taking shape. We know what we know until we know. So we're going to have this awareness of, it's a whole new world. The old, what I relied on before, is no longer. It will not work. What's the new? And so it's almost as though what we knew before will no longer apply in the face of previous mysteries solidifying and taking shape. Saturn in Aries is a punk rock Saturn. Saturn in Aries is a Saturn in fall, which looks like statues and edifices falling down. And it's an interesting thing of how, again, in our world stage, there are those that are placing their name all over everything, only for that to fall, to come off, to be torn down, because it's of the previous era. But there's this cleaving and clinging, trying to prevent the inevitable. But the unseen is all powerful. It's the host, it's the master weaver, we're the guest. Under Saturn in Aries, we're not necessarily listening to the old rules and authority figures. Under Saturn in Aries, there are no gods, no masters. We are in the wilderness of a near complete lack of structure. But that also means we get to DIY a new one. Saturn in Aries feels like thinking for yourself and doing for yourself, whether that's exciting to you or whether you simply have no other choice. So this is where, again, and we don't want that new DIY to be from a state of ego, mind, personality, human, or fear or lack or consciousness. You won't be able to, because it's a hard reset. There's a new operating system. So there's a new knowing and understanding. However, the joy is in aligning with that. So again, you rise and accelerate and expand faster. Lastly, if Saturn in Pisces, a Jupiter sign, was the gradual erosion and crisis of faith, Saturn in Aries, a Mars sign, is for doing something about it. This is the part of the story where we say thoughts and prayers are not enough. Resisting despair looks like proactively taking steps in another direction and finding something more durable to ground our hopes and spirituality into. We've talked a lot about where we place our energy, that we're for something. We can be against something, but we place our energy in what we're for, not what we're against. Place it in what you're for, what you want, the world you want to see, these proactive steps that say, I resist despair because I'm proactively taking the steps in a new direction to find a more durable foundation to stand upon. And that's something that grounds my hopes and my spirituality into. Just have to put on my, Colleen is saying, from your mouth to God's ears. Yes, well, this is the unseen speaking. And so there's a beauty, our mantra, in oneness, I am. It's in oneness, I am, because we are all interconnected. And while we might be fractals or fragments or chunks from the whole, from the one, from all that is. So in oneness, I am. And so we have this moment, of blast off. It's the wheel of fortune. It's that beautiful, it's the turning forward, the moving forward of time. And the beauty of how all of this is integrating together, playing together. And I just want to go quickly. The SABIAN symbols, I will post them on the Dearjames Facebook page thread for the show. You cannot make this up if you tried. There are so many spiritual symbols for this winter solstice chart. The midheaven, a train entering a tunnel, the ability to shortcut the process of natural evolution by the exercise of will, mental skill, and physical self-discipline. This is all interwoven. All of this, if you listen back to the show, all of these will, mental skill, self-discipline, they're all interwoven. And this symbol, and there are a lot of fourth stage symbols, 4 foundational. This fourth stage symbol presents a picture of what can be achieved by a combination of social and cultural and even personal techniques. It implies the possibility of shortening the length of time needed for progress by cutting through obstacles and delays. The key word is penetration. Mixed metaphors, coming in with a bang, a cosmic bang, and how major endings and beginnings, and how we can short circuit the process, hop on. First of all, be walking at the place where the moving conveyor belt is. Hop on it and walk while it's moving. We're accelerating. We're going twice as fast. That's this penetration. It's will, self-discipline. It's all these things. The North Node, and these SABIAN symbols are from Dane Redier and Astrological Mandala. The North Node, an ancient sword used in many battles, is displayed in a museum. Through the effectual use of his or her will, a consecrated man or woman can become a symbol of courage for all those who follow in their footsteps. This is about, it's hexagram 17, follow, be led, show by example. With this symbol, we see singled out and strongly emphasized the one power in man, which is an assurance of victory in the contest generated by social or occult wisdom processes in which they have become an active part. The individual must use that willpower, yet it is not their own once they operate at a spiritual level. So we're not talking about individual, our willpower. Yes, we need to harness that and use that, but we're talking about divine willpower. Harness divine willpower. It is the divine's will operating through their mind, our minds, which focuses its thrusts. It is occultly speaking, wisdom speaking, the power of the brother sisterhood, the energy of the whole operating through the one pointed individual who has made this whole aware of the need for its use in a particular situation. This is harnessing the unseen, your soul source connection, the all that is, original intelligence, to advance you forward. Big messages as we're concluding this 9-year, this 2025, a 9-year. Just a few more quickly. The ascendant, a new continent rising out of the ocean, the surge of new potentiality after the crisis. Because this is a fourth stage symbol, we find in it a suggestion of how to approach whatever new phase of life has not only been hoped for, but actually confirmed. The technique is simply to allow the infinite potential to operate in unconstrained spontaneity. This means to have reached a state in which the conscious, rational ego is no longer a controlling factor. All of this from the unseen is speaking to this expanded state of consciousness and being, recognizing that the individual ego is no longer a controlling factor. Spontaneity, synchronicity, the unseen, listening, going as guided. It's that knowing. When we know to do something or not to do something, and we listen, and we either do it or don't do it. It's just that simple, and how that's going to expand us. The IC, a human soul seeking opportunities for outward manifestation, the yearning for self-actualization. It's a fourth stage symbol, and it brings a transcendental clue to the technique of living. Let the soul speak out. Allow the power of the true tone of your being to manifest itself smoothly, easily, and unobstructed, or expect a variety of consequences. Let the soul manifest. We will end on this note because that's really these last 4 years and where we're going. This new octave, this new operating system, the divine feminine, matriarchal Aquarian era, the age of enlightenment revisited. And it's advanced. They did say, the unseen said, the age of enlightenment, advanced, solidified, made permanent. It's an advance. It's a solidification of it, enlightenment. And it's everything that we've been talking about. Let your soul manifest. Let your soul speak out. It's not your ego, mind, personality, human. It's not monkey mind. It's your soul. Let the soul speak. Let the soul manifest. That was abracadabra. I will create as I speak. When we create from our soul, it's next level. So we will leave you with all of that. For all of you celebrating, have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays, a safe and happy and fun New Year. And we will pick all of this back up, I believe, on Wednesday, January 7th. We will be off next week. And I cannot wait to see, because we're going to be working with the first new moon of 2026, a 10-year, new beginnings, which is a 1 year. So until then, everyone, be well, be safe, and thank you again for your love, your presence, your energy on this journey. You actually, you make this sparkle in a way that is just such a gift for me. So I thank you all so very, very much for your love and presence and energy and your time and your choice to be here and be on this journey. See you next year.